And what's happening, guys? Welcome along to another episode of 420 News. A little bit late starting off there this evening, guys, and apologies for that. Just fucking daddy duties getting in the way and all of that stuff. Don't really want to go into the gritty details of it, but yeah, nonetheless, we got here better late than never, I thought. So it was better than just abandoning the show altogether. As we had it lined up, we had quite a bit of news there lined up for today. Only one or two good news stories. So feck it, let's just drive on right into it. So welcome along to the show, guys. To see R420 is out there as well. Crainn C, Mark Andrew, what's going on, guys? Podge in the audience as well, and Papa Gummy Bear, what's happening, guys? A little bit late, but I think I can do it this little bowl of civil disobedience. Was having a pretty good day. Hopefully everybody else's day is going pretty good out there. And again, my apologies, guys, to anybody out there in the audience who was waiting, sitting by at 420 ready to blaze on up, and I didn't arrive, so apologies, guys. I'll do better next time. Some of these things are just out of my control, really, given the environment that I'm in at the moment, but let's blaze on up anyway. Civil Disobedience 420 News here. Tasty. Legendary pods for 420 saying always worth the wait, Martin, man. Nice one for that, pods. Appreciate it. And Mark Andrew also saying it's okay, but we're all family. Yes, we are indeed. One big happy family. So let's I guess stuck on into today's 420 News, guys. As we have been all week doing updates on the 2,000 kilometers for BringAlicia Home, which we started on the 26th of September, which was National Walking Day. Still haven't changed this headline, actually. I should have changed this. But yeah, we're 5 days into the campaign, or 6 days, depending on how you count it. But we've definitely smashed the 2,000 kilometers. And we're hoping now just to get the 4,000 kilometers done to make the trip to Alicante and back to Cork again. So well done to everybody out there who's getting involved in that. And don't forget, guys, to get the post up in social media after you get out and do your 2 kilometer plus walk with the hashtag BringAlicia Home and CannabisReformireland, and a little bit about why you're supporting this campaign. It's great to see all of the posts up there, and I see Alicia's created an Instagram account, the BringAlicia Home campaign. So get over and give that a follow as well if you haven't already done so over on Instagram. That's a BringAlicia Home campaign. That's the name of the page over on Instagram. And over there you'll be able to see all of the people who've been taking part in the campaign. As people put a post up using the hashtag BringAlicia Home, we're able to find it once the post is public. That's very important, guys. And we'll be able to get a screenshot and include it with the rest of them, and through that then we can gather how far we've travelled as well. So well done, guys, and keep on sharing, keep on spreading the good word of this campaign out there. And in other news, guys, you might be aware of yesterday on the News Talk, Vera Twomey. Vera Twomey came back and started speaking out after the recent Health Committee's discussion on the Medical Cannabis Access Programme. Vera actually got a post up on Twitter asking, is the Medical Cannabis Access Programme, designed purposefully in order to restrict access to the patients? And you wouldn't blame her for thinking that either when you kind of hear that the restrictions that they put in place and the requirements there of specialists and patients before they can even be considered applicants, But Vera spoke out there yesterday over on News Talk on the hard shoulder with Crainn. So I have a little video of that there for you if you haven't already heard this. And Legend Hype there as well. Hype getting in behind the show. Nice one for that, Hype. Legend as always. And thanks to everybody else who supports the show as well, to all the patrons and everybody who just helps spread the good word by sharing and liking the post there as well and commenting as well. Always helps with the algorithm, drive more people towards the content. But this is a video, as I say, over on from the News Talk show yesterday featuring Vera Twomey.
The first legal medicinal cannabis product will be available to eligible patients from next month. But consultant paediatric neurologist Professor Brian Lynch, one of the leading consultant paediatric specialists in this country, has told an Oireachtas committee he won't prescribe it to patients because he says there's no evidence it has any benefits for people with epilepsy. Well, Vera Twomey is the mother of Ava, who suffers from epilepsy, and Vera herself has been a long-time campaigner on this front. Vera, you're going to have to help me out here. I'm struggling. Is this a good news story or a bad news story?
I hardly know myself, Kieran, to be honest with you. How are you doing?
I'm not too bad.
Good, be God, that's good. Yes, it is good news that there is another product available, but and in the same token, it's neither good news for Professor Lynch to be in a position where he feels that he's not in a position to prescribe it. That's not going to be good for patients. That's not going to be good for anybody. I mean, I have met Professor Lynch previously, and he is a lovely man. And I would, I hate to disagree with him, but he is incorrect about there being a lack of evidence surrounding THC, and anybody interested could go to look towards the Drug Science Policy Law and Law of the 9th of December 2020, which goes into the efficiency and safety of THC in epilepsy, and to much more work done by other doctors over the last number of years throughout the world regarding THC and epilepsy. He may be correct in his position about the level of THC being high in that product to be suitable for pediatric use. However, that does not mean that every single product with THC medication is unsuitable either.
We should just sorry to cut across you here, but just for people maybe listening who aren't aware, THC is the psychoactive component of cannabis. Is that it?
When people like me are talking about medical cannabis, we're talking about CBD oil, number one, cannabidiol, which people are generally speaking more familiar with. We're looking at treating a serious complicated epilepsy with a 10% CBD oil. However, it is necessary in the treatment of Ava's Dravet syndrome, that's my daughter Ava Barry, to incorporate 2% THC oil with the CBD oil. And we have found, and there are over 50, probably more than 60 other people in this country who have been prescribed Bedrocan, CBD and THC oil. There have been no emergency hospital admissions due to THC or catastrophic side effects. Quite the opposite. It's been tremendously effective,
So listen, Brian Lynch, obviously Professor Brian Lynch has his view, but in terms of the government and the licensing of these types of medicines, I mean, it strikes me that you've been campaigning on this front for a very, very long time. There's not an awful lot of medicines on the market here.
Yeah, I mean, the last review of cannabis was done in 2017, and it was really upsetting yesterday to hear Lorraine Nolan talking about a review that was going to be conducted. However, that really there weren't going to be any changes made. And Lorraine Nolan is the chief executive of the Health Products Regulatory Authority.
Yes.
She was saying that there weren't going to really be any changes made to the programme because there's no evidence suitable to warrant a change or the addition of conditions like chronic pain. This is really disturbing to people like us, because we know that's not true, Kieran. But if you've got the chief executive of the HPRA telling members of the Dáil and other people, who are you going to believe? Are you going to believe a small woman from Cork who's the mother of a child with epilepsy? Are you going to believe the official above in Dublin in the HPRA? The majority of people are going to take the word of the professional person above in Dublin.
Yeah.
But in this case, they would be incorrect to do so, and it's devastating because there will be further delay. They have not appointed qualified people to make decisions about medical cannabis, and I would refer to some of Lorraine's remarks. One of which was medical cannabis are not MCAP products, being the Medical Cannabis Access Programme, are not medicines in the conventional sense, as you or I would know medicine.
Yeah. Well,
and we need to ensure improvements are actually being realised. This is a kind of an attitude that the treatment that has been prescribed by consultants for our daughter from two countries, the Netherlands and Ireland, for her care and well-being is not as good as something else.
Yeah.
That's a dangerous road to be going down, in my opinion.
Yeah, well, listen, I suppose Lorraine Nolan of the HPRA isn't here, and I'm sure her and others would say she's eminently qualified, though I appreciate the disagreement you'd have with her. Can I
absolutely. She's eminently qualified. It's just very unfortunate that her qualifications don't extend to being an expert on this topic. And they may be doing their best, but unfortunately it's simply not good enough at the moment. And people are very worried and distressed. You have people outside living abroad. There is a lady called Alicia Maher who is, and I recognise what it is like to be that woman, abandoned over in Spain, living over there with over a year, trying to get back to Ireland. Prescribed her Bedrocan medication for her pain, but not able to return.
Yeah,
you have things like this happening.
Get it in Ireland. Well, I tell you what, let me bring in Nessa Horrigan, the Green Party TD for Dublin Central, is on the line as well.
And I'm just going to stop it there, guys, I suppose, because again, they gave Vera about 5 minutes there, and then they went off into Nessa Horrigan. They gave Nessa Horrigan about another 4 minutes thereabouts, and then that was it. That was the piece pretty much done. On to the next kind of issue that they were dealing with there yesterday. So in total 9 minutes that they gave to the issue surrounding medical cannabis on the news yesterday, on News Talk on that show. It's like a 2-hour long show. It was just, for me, I thought it was terrible that they would have on Vera and Nessa, and where was these other representatives, the people who were speaking on the health committee, the Lorraine Horrigan, Lorraine Nolan, or any of the other guys that were speaking there, Brian Lynch and any of the rest of them, to come on and be able to speak and defend themselves, I suppose, really, and to put it out there. So the rest of the public can hear kind of some of the stuff that they were really saying. Because like when they talk about there not being enough evidence, they're not really being honest there in that, are they? Because like the reason why there's not enough evidence in terms of the fucking gold standard double-blind placebos is because those studies are incredibly expensive and even incredibly more difficult to carry out because of the illegal nature of the cannabis, being a Schedule 1 drug. So I just thought it was terrible that they only gave that amount of time to it, that they didn't follow up there, maybe even get Alicia on, and some of the other patients out there, of which there are many, but there is even for many more who are afraid of speaking out for being targeted because they're already accessing cannabis illegally on the black market, Sorry, just looking around to see where my water was. But it was great to hear Vera there speaking out yesterday. And yeah, I see somebody's saying that Cassidus Drugas, Bedrocan haven't applied for authorisation on the Irish market. It looks like Tilray are listing their products here soon. Yeah, I would be interested in the reason why Bedrocan aren't listing on the Irish market. I wonder, is it something to do with maybe demand in their own home country, or is it to do with the problems with the program here in Ireland, and that they haven't included some of the more requested reasons for cannabis, that being chronic pain. 70% of prescriptions apparently in the UK are for chronic pain. So maybe these the likes of Bedrocan, they just don't see the market being worth their while to come here, because look, until you sort it out and get all the patients access, maybe they're not interested in coming here to Ireland. But I don't know, I haven't heard from Bedrocan or any of the rest of them to be able to speak from that. But yeah, it looks like Tilray definitely will be the next ones to have a product listed. They're talking about the Tilray oral solution being the next one. That could be possibly sometime next year. But again, that guy who was talking there on that health committee meeting on Wednesday was kind of like, oh yeah, well, we can be definite about October, but we won't know about next year until next year comes around. Yeah, they're like headless chickens up there really when it comes to this, and it's very worrying for patients. You would have heard from Alicia there on Wednesday. You heard from Vera there as well. Not one bit happy at all. We're 5 years down the road now. They were talking about the Danish model the other day, but meanwhile, when the Danes went ahead and done this, they actually done it quite efficiently. They had a bill around the same time that we put a bill forward, and was it 2 years later that they had a program up and running. Here we are 5 years later, and still trying to figure out our head from our arse when it comes to medical cannabis up there in the HPRA and the Department of Health and all of the rest of them. Castle Struggle saying it is a decision by the Dutch Office for Medical Cannabis. That's right. I was listening to that actually. They talk about cannabis preparations as being magisterial preparations or something like that. I was intrigued when I heard that. I was just kind of like, oh yeah, well, yeah, they have king and queen over there and stuff like that still. So it kind of made sense then. It's just like some term that they used for it. But yeah, I just thought it was funny that it was called a magisterial preparation. When they were talking about cannabis medicines over there in Holland. Pods for 420 saying it's so backward in this country, man. It's unbelievable. How much evidence or proof do you need that cannabis works as a medication for multiple health conditions? It's undeniable at this stage. Like really, it's really sick what they're doing, and the suffering that they're causing to patients out there by prolonging the lack of access. Again, it's as easy as getting on an airplane, heading over to Alicante. It costs about €20 there sometimes to get a flight from Dublin Airport, and you will land in a country where you can get access to a product that's going to alleviate your symptoms, and you won't be regarded as a criminal. Unlike here in Ireland, crazy to think that's all it takes. But meanwhile, our government here, they make it seem like it's impossible to bring about change, to stop this needless fucking exodus of patients from our country, seeking refuge in other people's countries for a better access to this plant. Oh, and I'm saying the poor lady, she shouldn't have to be doing this. She should be only focused on her child, not fighting this backwards government. I would wholeheartedly agree with you there, Owen, as well. But when you're aware of the suffering going on out there, for some people, they just can't rest really. They just can't really jump, and I don't blame them for that. I'm one of those people as well. I should be probably just more focused on my family and kids and stuff like that as well. But really, the way I see it, they could one day be facing the suffering caused by this prohibition. So in doing so, she's also looking out for her family too, I suppose, fighting this government, because she just wants to make the world a better place for those in our community and further beyond too. Yeah, nice one for all your comments coming in there. Skatana saying they said in the meeting that one manufacturer pulled out of Ireland. Yeah, again, as I say, I wonder why they're pulling out. Maybe they just don't see it being, or we'll go to the UK, or we'll go to like France and any of these other places that are including chronic pain, because chronic pain is a big money maker for these companies. And look, let's face it, these companies are interested in profit at the end of the day. So why waste your efforts in a country that's only allowing, incredibly restrictive access, where you're only going to have maybe a couple of hundred patients versus, a country where you're going to have a couple of thousand patients or customers, I suppose, for these companies. Castle Strugas, the best thing would be for Ireland to import from Portugal, or better again, grow our own. 100% Graham. That's the thing that needs to be sorted. Cannabis needs to be removed from the Misuse of Drugs Act. It does not belong there. It does not fit the criteria for a Schedule 1 substance. We need to be focusing on the indigenous production of cannabis here within Ireland. We need to be producing our own, processing our own, and providing it to our own patients here, and looking at the potential then for exporting it further afield as well. We shouldn't be focused solely on importation, because that's just not going to go very well for the patients, unfortunately, and for our own people here as well. You know, you're prohibiting growing and processing of a plant in our country where, you know, it's going to be very well in high demand here very soon. It just makes no sense at all. And I suppose we drive on from that one, and that's why we keep marching for those in need of this wonderful plant. Yes, indeed, that's what we do. Pods 4420. And one smiley pirate hooker. Change the colour of the market. Yeah, change it from black to green, is it? Scatanist, Carl Crow asked exactly that question, whether it is because of the small number of ministerial licenses and MCAP approved conditions. I don't recall hearing a given reason though. Yeah, they don't. They beat around the bush in that one. They avoid answering it because they do definitely know that it's a valid concern there as to why these companies are maybe no longer interested in, or as interested in, Ireland as a potential market for their products. So let's drive on, guys, and it was a case I kind of just briefly touched off of there on Wednesday before I got chatting to Alicia, where a woman in Kinsale who was up for just shy of €10,000 worth of cannabis. It was €9,700 worth of cannabis. Key McGill, she was sentenced to 3 years in prison for her act of consciously, knowingly and deliberately selling drugs. As if somebody accidentally sold drugs before or something. I just don't understand this kind of deliberately. Of course it was deliberate. Like, nobody accidentally sells drugs. Oh shit, I just sold you a 50 bag there. Oops, my bad. That was an accident. But that was a quote there from the Judge Sean O'Donovan, who gave this woman 3 years in prison, but he suspended 1.5 years of it, so gave her 18 months in total in prison for her crime of selling cannabis. But then you kind of compare that then, you know, and this is what I wanted to get into there the other day, but I just didn't have enough, didn't allow myself enough time. But you compare that to other cases where Judge Sean O'Donovan was overseeing. And this is another case here in Cork City where there was a man in the early hours of the morning attacked a cleaner on her way to work. This was a headline there on the evening, not the Evening Echo, it's not called that anymore, on Echo Live. And it was a case again that was presided over by Judge Sean O'Donovan, and it's a case of it was a 50-year-old woman who was cycling on her way to her cleaning job in the early hours of the morning, and it says here playing her part in the front line during the COVID pandemic, and she was knocked off her bike and given a punch on the floor by the guy Stephen Mann. And Judge Sean O'Donovan, who was presiding over the case, he gave the guy only 2.5 years in prison. That was a 2.5 years in prison for his crime. Sorry, he imposed a 3 years sentence and gave him 6 months suspended. So, like, you compare that, right? You know, you have a woman who got caught with €9,700 worth of cannabis. She got 3 years. You've got a guy here who knocks a woman off her bike, punches her in the face on the floor, and he only got 3 years. Now, the guy in question here, he said that he was after taking some Xanax, 25 Xanax tablets, and been drinking as well earlier that day. I don't know, does Judge Sean O'Donovan got a bit of a soft spot for people who go drinking and taking Xanax? Maybe it's something he likes to do himself or something. So he knows the dangers that can be got with that. But it's just sickening, you know, really, when you think about it, that a woman who gets caught with €9,700 worth of cannabis effectively got the same jail sentence as a guy who knocks a woman off her bike in the early hours of the morning on her way to work. This woman has been left extremely shaken by the event. She's had her bike returned to her, but she'll never be the same again, you know. She says that herself. She's extremely worried every time she leaves her house now. She's going to have a lifelong to deal, or the rest of her life to be dealing with the PTSD she's left with after this serious event. And this guy's going to be back out in 3 years. 3 years. he has a victim to his crime. Who's the victim to the cannabis? Again, like if I was to go down to that lady, Key McGill, if that's how you pronounce her name, and to buy cannabis off her, I would have been consenting. I wouldn't have been a victim in all of that, like as long as it was good quality cannabis and she gave me what I was actually paying for, i.e. the weight required. You know, but the both of them received the same. Okay, like, all right, she got 18 months suspended, he only got 6 months suspended, but still, the severity of that. He fucking knocked a woman off her bike on the way to work and punched her in the face while she was on the ground, and stole her bike then as well afterwards. And I think he might have, I didn't think it was just her bike he stole off her. Yeah, that was it. He just stole a bike off her. Horrible stuff, like, and you know, it just enrages me to think about it, you know. It's messed up. So Podge, nice one there, Podge, getting in the hashtags BringAlicia home and CannabisReformireland. Legend, nice one for the sport there, Podge. But really, it's just it's outrageous that people are getting sentenced 3 years in prison for having in their possession, you know, any amounts of cannabis. I don't care if it was 100,000 that lady had. She did not deserve to be getting the same sentence as a guy who knocks a 50-year-old woman off her bike on her way to work and punches her in the fucking face while she's on the floor in the early hours of the morning and steals her bike. That guy deserves 10 years minimum. Minimum. You know what I mean? Like, seriously. Talk about like as a crime with an actual victim. And this guy's getting like that's what he got. That's what he got. 2.5 years. He'll be back out in about a year. Sickening. It really is sickening. And we drive on in more cases of highlighting where the prohibition of drugs has failed in a serious way. Gardaí have seized €113,000 worth of suspected drugs and arrested one youth. And this is a case coming out of Athlone, County Westmeath. Where in County Westmeath, the Gardaí at approximately 8:15 on Tuesday night, carried out a search of a property, and at the property they found €79,000 worth of heroin, €25,000 worth of cannabis, and €6,500 worth of diazepam tablets. Also they found €2,300 worth of cocaine. All of the drugs are going to be sent for analysis, and at the scene of the crime, it was a 15-year-old boy they arrested. 15 years of age. There you go. Like, that's prohibition in effect. Like, the young fella's running a supermarket of drugs for some local gang or something. Unless maybe just like a super fucking a super mature 15-year-old, you know, with some serious entrepreneurial skills. But no, this guy, 15 years of age, getting caught with all of this, that's just sickening. That's prohibition. There you go. Well done, prohibitionists. Take a bow. Hope you're happy. Sort out. You could sort this out with regulations. You don't need to be finding 15-year-olds in possession of all of these drugs. You know, heroin, Xanax, cocaine, cannabis. Seriously, like. So yeah, this young fellow has been released on since Wednesday evening. Without any charge. So a file has been prepared now for the DPP and investigations are ongoing. Like, is this really worth the time that's going into this, you know, and the dangers that are being posed there to the communities? Like, obviously, you know my answer, it's not. We need to regulate this, we need to sort this out. Cannabis, cocaine, heroin, these things should not be being sold side by side. On the black market. No, that shouldn't be, and certainly not with 15-year-olds as well in possession of them, you know what I mean? Yeah, crazy volume for a young fella, and incredibly ambitious. Yeah, he's definitely a big fan of Tony Montana. It's Paul Lefwick, amazing. Now they want everybody to take blood clot epilepsy injections, and cannabis is supposedly bad. Yeah, I won't be taking any of those injections myself anytime soon. I think cannabis is definitely going to be a bit more beneficial than that, for me anyway, in my own opinion. Along with good exercise, good diet, and plenty of sunshine for that vitamin D as well. Daily Talker, I still have the skins as a souvenir from the great day in Cork. Yes, shout out to Cork Chronic there for hooking up with some savage skins there. Nice artwork there as well from Mark Andrew Morgan. In what world would they believe over 100 grand's worth of drugs are owned by a 15-year-old? Yeah, that's it. But he was in possession of them, so they don't really care. Do you know, that's it. Cassidus Drugas saying 15-year-old, that is an ugly reflection on the current state of Irish society. Cannabis reform Ireland, definitely. And decriminalise as well, definitely. Because, the decriminalisation of the drug user and providing safe and regulated access to all drug users to their drug of choice is definitely the right way forward. This prohibition has failed, not only for cannabis, but for all drugs. Not quite shiny flakes, but that's quite an amount, serious amount in fairness. Like Kevin O'Halloran saying they want the country in a super high on opiate Xanax. Yeah, the place is flooded with them, alright. A lot of people taking them as well from their doctors. But look, we won't go into that conversation there. There's definitely beneficial use to these things, but I definitely would think that in certain cases they are being overused and reached for way too soon. Yes, decriminalise Ireland. That's the one I was thinking of. Hashtag decriminalise Ireland. Nice one, Cassidus Drugas. Let's drive on, guys, because why we need to decriminalise Ireland? Cases like this. A man was stopped and searched because he smelt like cannabis. As if it's a crime to smell like cannabis. This is just how messed up it is to be a cannabis consumer in today's Ireland. Because when you're walking down the street, and if you're just after, say, meeting up with one of your buddies there down in the Peace Park or down at the back of Fitzy's or something like that, and you're after having a quick smoke together, maybe after sharing an old coffee there from the Natural Food Bay confectionery down there in Fitzgerald's Park, and you leave, and you're walking home, and next, you still smell like cannabis because you're just after having an old hoot there with one of the lads or something like that. And your day is ruined then as you walk out of Fitzgerald's Park. You bump into two undercovers and they're like, hey, you smell like cannabis, and they're searching. Yeah, And that's just the reality. And this was a case anyway that unfolded above in just off of Strandhill Road. This is a case where Justin Mills, who got caught by the Gardaí when they observed him walking and they smelt cannabis off him as they got near him. This was at about 20 to 12 at night as well. So again, they seen a young fella, 32-year-old man. He might look young like myself, 32 years, 32 years young. But when they searched him anyway, their old bloodhound nosing him, it was correct. They found €120 worth of cannabis. The individual then found himself before the courts and before the judge, and the judge obviously fucking lambasted him, told him what a dirty drug user he was and how serious of a crime he was committing, and paraphrasing there obviously. But then the judge gave him an opportunity. He said, look, despite the serious nature of your crime, we're going to afford you an opportunity now because, look, you've no convictions. So make a €250 donation to the charity box. And look, we'll forget that this ever happened. So effectively, this man, he was brought to court, he was terrorised by the state, he was threatened by his having his good name tarnished, in the future, because this is something that lasts forever. It's not something that goes away. And by threatening him, they successfully extorted €250 out of him for their donations for their charity box. That's what goes on. And the guy was thankful for it. The victim of this, because my eyes, the real victim here was the guy who supposedly committed a crime, because he was a victim of having his human rights violated. Because that's what I believe happened here. He was having his human rights violated. The guards stopped and searched him off of false grounds. There's no real crime in having cannabis on you or smelling like cannabis. There's nobody in danger. It should not warrant the guard violating your right to privacy, taking away your own private goods off you that were no threat to anybody. It's just incredibly fucking infuriating that this is still the case today, that the cops can just stop and search you going down the road if you smell a little bit like weed. And even if you don't, that they just say you do anyway. That happened so many fucking times to me. The old days when you have hash didn't smell fucking, you could have a bar of hash in your glove box and your car wouldn't smell at all. But yet, despite that, the cops would still turn around and say, oh, we smell cannabis coming out of your car. And you're just like, come here, boy, I've only got hash in my car. What are you on about saying you smell cannabis? Going away now, and we wouldn't even after being smoking in the car, but they'd still say it because, you're wearing a hoodie, you look the part, you fit the description of a drug user, so they go in and search you under the pretense that they smelled cannabis, but they didn't. And I know there's probably many of you out there as well, guys, who've experienced that yourselves. Cops, pulling you in and saying, "Oh, we smell cannabis. Empty your pockets there." Daily Talker. Well, Martin, have you ever made or thought of making stickers or posters to help make the show known to those who don't yet know about it? Put them up in local grow shops to let the folks know of this show. Yeah, definitely going to be getting on top of that. Going to have a little improvements there made to the shop over on martinsworld.ie. We'll include some slap stickers up there and a few other different bits and pieces as well. I have a few ideas there anyway. So yeah, nice one for that, Daily Talker. Adrianitis, what's going on? Can you give a quick one-on-one if stopped by the guards for being suspicious? Can they demand my name and address, for example? They kind of can and they can't. Like, they can intimidate you into giving it to them, but effectively, like, by right, if the guards come up to you and they demand your name and address, they shouldn't be able to really do that as such. As long as, like, they're like, are you suspected of committing a crime? Because acting suspiciously, like, I'm acting suspiciously. What do you mean? Like, I'm lost. Like, you want to know my name and address because I'm lost? Like, that's a, like, no, like, you should help me find where I'm going or something. But no, quite often or not, they do come up with, oh, give us your name and address and da da da. Just stand your ground, just mean, like, am I suspected in committing a crime? And most likely then, if they want to search you, they're going to say, well, yeah, we've reason to believe that you've got drugs in your person because you're acting suspiciously. And that's what they do then. And then they'll quote, the Section 3 of the Misuse of Drugs Act, the personal possession of drugs, if they catch you with drugs. I think that's what they might quote you as well, or they're going to search you under the Misuse of Drugs Act, something like that. One of the sections, I think it was Section 3 under the Misuse of Drugs Act, they're going to search you if they've got reason to believe that you have drugs in you. And acting suspiciously is reason enough to believe it. Like, so again, it's up to you to stand your ground. But by right, you've a right to privacy. You've a right to refuse the search, and in doing so, you just have to be aware that the Gardaí then have the right to arrest you for refusing that search, and just be prepared for that. If you've got nothing on you and if you don't want to be searched, refuse the search. Say, look, I don't consent to the search. I don't want to be searched. If you would like to search me, you better place me under arrest and search me. And I won't kick out. But look, as long as you're not in handcuffs. It's like, I'm not going to consent to the search. I'm not under arrest, so thank you and goodbye. You don't have to stick around and entertain their conversation. That's something they probably be saying, I suppose, on the first encounter. Is, sorry, guard, but am I under arrest? If I'm not under arrest, then am I free to go? And because if you're not under arrest, then you should be free to go. They have no right to detain you if you're not under arrest. They have no right to impede on your ability to get from A to B if you're not under arrest, So that's just something you could ask then as well. Martin, did you check your messenger? I'm sure you've seen this story I've already sent you. I'll check it there in a bit, John. I haven't seen it in a bit. Nice one. Others out there, smell you for either hooker, I'd buy and spread those stickers far and wide too. Graffiti is also a good way to spread the good word. Nice. Yeah, I've been thinking of getting involved with some local graffiti artists. If there's any out there, I'm sure we could come up with some fun murals around to help the cause, and we'll help promote them here as well. Yeah, I guess asking them questions is probably the way to go. Yeah, definitely. And I think the number one question is, am I under arrest or am I free to go? Nice one, Adrian, for that, actually. Legend. If you've got any cool designs, definitely get them on over to me and we'll make some slaps out of them or something like that. Appreciate it. Always happy to work with people like yourself out there who've worked with before and who are good supporters of the cause too. And plus your artwork is really great, Adrian, so I'll never forget that mushroom poster that you made for the science of psilocybin. That was really cool. And you done another cool one as well for the medical cannabis event that I remember. Some great work you've done there in the past. That's nice one. Podge 85, the richest poor box in the country and the biggest thieves on abusing and destroying lives. Yeah, spot on Podge. Right, let's drive on, guys, because in one instance of the cops terrorising an individual out in the streets, here we have another individual being terrorised in his home. This is a post that I got off of Crainn, that's the Reddit subgroup, and this was the headline that was over there on it. Some guy I bought on and off from got raided, his phones were seized, and now I've been getting strange phone calls. So again, as I said, this is a story that was up on the Reddit subgroup. Just going to get over to it there now myself so I can have a proper read off it, because I can't see it there now up on my own screen. But this individual is terrified. He believes that the cops are ringing him because he got two strange phone calls, kind of one after the other, in what he describes here as people with thick country accents. So this is as the letter goes. It says, well, lads, a guy I know I had to ring occasionally for green was raided, and his burner, which I had rang, was seized. My number is probably in it because he's always stoned and probably didn't bother deleting it. I always try and ring plugs or on no caller IDs for this exact reason, but understandably they won't answer. And understandably so, nobody likes answering private number. Anyway, I got the call yesterday, answered it, and it was some country guy asking me for white. I'm thinking now that I'm a supplier, because one day your man had no tobacco or skins and rang me asking me for some. As I was walking up, he texted, "Are you near?" And I said, "Yeah, I'll sort you out, don't worry," something like that. So for that reason, the cops obviously, reading the phone, thought this dude was supplying the guy that they raided. So in that, he says then that I could nearly smell the blue latex gloves and hairy farmer arms on the other line. Quite a description there, in fairness. I said no, flat out, and hung up. Now, about 3 hours ago, I got another call from a different number with, a country accent asking me if I had a queue to start off with. I told him no. I could hear the gloves squeaking and the bacon frying on the other line, and told him to F right off. Now I feel like I'm going to get raided any minute. All they'll find is a 50 bag on a good day anyway, but my week has been ruined by it. I really want this shit to be legal. Your man who said the most dangerous thing about green is getting caught with it was bang on. Is there a chance I'm going to get raided now because of this? And why I'm bringing this up to you guys is, like, this is fucking terrorising of our citizens by the state. It's state-sponsored terrorism. And like the guy says here, like, the best they're going to find here on a good day is going to be a 50 bag in the guy's gaff. That's it, a 50 bag. He's not some sort of big time dealer, but despite that, now he's sitting at home, unworried, uneasy. You know, that stress is going to impact upon his own health. We have to look after one another. We're in a pandemic right now, and here we are terrorizing our citizens over a little bit of cannabis herb. It's ridiculous. Like, this guy, like, the stress is one of the biggest killers out there. If you're stressed, that's your immune system going to be deprived a little bit, you know. It's not going to be at its peak top shape in order to keep you from getting sick, you know, as it should be. And that's what we're doing to our citizens by criminalising them for cannabis, treating them like this. People are terrified out there, thinking that the cops are ringing them, trying to buy coke off them, trying to set them up, and that they're going to get raided. And I've been there. Like, I've been growing cannabis in the past in my house and stuff. Like, and you do be terrified by it. I had cannabis before, like a lot of it, and you do be terrified. And it's unfair. Like, and it's not a deterrent from doing it. But we shouldn't have to be doing it. It's just it's torture. That's effectively what it is. It's torture, and it's terrorism. So again, that's over on the Crainn subreddit. So again, get over there, join it up if you haven't already joined that group. Good old group, some good posts that go up there from time to time, and some good engagement over there too at times. So we drive on from there, guys, from citizens being terrorised by the Gardaí, terrified that the Gardaí might raid their houses, to Gardaí fucking getting arrested. This is a retired senior Gardaí, Garda member who was arrested on suspicion of assisting drug gangs. And this is a story that was breaking out of Dublin on Wednesday evening, where a former Garda was arrested as part of the investigation into organised crime in Dublin. As part of the investigation, they seized €600,000 worth of cannabis herb, and they also seized €47,000 in cash during 5 searches in Dublin. They found 30 kilos of cannabis, and one man, a former Garda aged 61, was arrested during the operation on suspicion of involvement in offences that are relate to alleged enhancing of criminal organisations' ability to commit or facilitate a serious offence. The man has now been detained at the in Irish Town Garda Station under Section 50 of the Criminal Justice Act 2007. So incredible, isn't it, really? Like, you know, the very same people who are supposed to be enforcing this prohibition are actually out there helping the very same guys. But look, I'm sure that this comes as no surprise to any of you out there. I would imagine all of you are just kind of like, yeah, so what? We knew this was going on all along. Like, it's just a matter of time before it starts getting exposed. Well, it's all starting to crumble down over there now, as there's been more homes actually of a senior Gardaí over there after being raided. This is over in this is around Ireland, I suppose. It's not given out where the homes obviously are, but it says there are several homes linked to currently serving Gardaí. So the guy who got arrested was a retired guard, but now there's several more homes after being raided belong to serving Gardaí, and they've been searched as part of an investigation into the information allegedly being leaked to an organised crime group. It says a number of mid-ranking officers are under investigation and were this week targeted in a coordinated operation by the Garda National Bureau of Criminal Investigation. 5 searches were carried out during which more than $500,000 worth of drugs were discovered. That was €600,000, and almost 50,000 in cash. That was €47,000. None of the serving Gardaí have been arrested, but investigations are ongoing, and it says here that the force, the extended force, has been shocked by these revelations. To me, that's no surprise at all. So really, it'll be interesting to see what happens here. But I reckon, given it a few weeks, and this will all be brushed under the rug. Your man will go up to the courts, he'll get his old slaps on the wrist or something like that. He'll probably, get a suspended sentence. They'll be like, oh yeah, well, we can't send him to jail because he's a guard, and that won't go down well in jail for in prison for the guards to go there. So that'll be probably their way of not sending him and giving him any real punishment. So great work, isn't it? Yeah, great work in Ireland. And we drive on from there, guys, and I see loads of comments coming in, guys. Nice one for that. John Finnegan saying the poor my arse, the Gardaí used monies from the poor box to buy themselves new gym equipment. That's right, John, they did indeed. And they bought themselves a lovely bus as well for the community, didn't they? There was a community, was it the Garda bus, isn't it? Yeah, the misappropriation of funds. And then you've the judge there down in Kerry, didn't the judge down in Kerry and his brother get caught? He was donating all the money from the charity into a charity box into his brother's charity, but it wasn't even a real charity. 2 boys are going off having days and holidays for themselves with Judge Sean O'Donovan, drinking loads of whiskey and taking Xanax. Right, we drive on, guys. Not surprised by any of it, and won't be surprised if they all walk free either. Yeah, I wouldn't be either, pods. Definitely not. Wouldn't be one bit surprised. The Hemp Federation of Ireland, guys, they've released a statement where they've stated that Irish farmers are losing up to €2,500 per acre based on the 2020 cash valuations for the hemp crop. And this is all because of the current Irish policies around the production of this plant. The Irish Hemp Federation are said to be the leading hemp stakeholder group, and they've recently withdrawn from the government talks on industrial hemp, and they've sharply criticised the consultations as being short-sighted and disincentivising to Irish farmers because they ignore the full potential of the plant. This is a quote here from the director, Chris Allen, of Hemp Federation Ireland. Chris Allen says this. She says, no one with any genuine knowledge of scientific understanding of this agricultural industry, both in terms of real-world economics, in terms of the unique environmental context of the crop, could possibly engage in this consultation. And that was a quote that she said in an open letter to Brendan Gleeson, the Secretary General of the Department of Agricultural, Food and Marine here in Ireland. In this letter, the Hemp Federation Ireland, they've announced their formal withdrawal from the ongoing talks, and they cited a consultation framework that confines Irish farmers and operators to discussing only the stalk of the hemp crop. And that's the main problem that's popping up here, because the Irish government currently want Irish farmers to only farm hemp for the hemp stalk. They don't really even want them to be using it for the seeds and the flowers. You know, they want them to destroy the leaves and the flowers of the plant. It's incredibly short-sighted, really, when you look at it, because they're bringing the potential value of the crop per acre from about 3,000, just over 3,000 euro, down to about 500 to 600 euro. Now, why on earth would you do that? Like, you know, why would you sacrifice like such a sizable proportion of a farmer's potential there to get a profit from a crop? It's ridiculous. That portion is kind of bringing it in the crop back down in line with other crops, you know, because like if they were to grow cereal or corn or something like that, that's probably what it's worth, about 500 or 600 euro per acre. But that's the benefit of the hemp crop, the cannabis crop. It's worth so much more because there's so much more you can do with it. There's so much more of a yield out of it. There's so many other byproducts that can be made from it, because if you grow it for the flower and the resins contained within the flower, you still have the byproduct of all of the stalk and all of the rest of the stuff there as well, where you could be making so much more money from the field and making it more worthwhile. In the letter, and I'm going to pop it up on screen there for you. I think a few of you might have seen this already, but this is the open letter that was sent there to the Department of Agricultural, Food and Marine by Hemp Federation Ireland. And I'm not going to read the whole lot of it, but I just want to bring our attention to one piece just down here a little bit more. This is a nice little infographic here, kind of showing the different valuations of the crop. And that's where they were getting the price that the farmers were losing out on as well there from the 2020 valuation. But it was down here, this part, these green bullet pointed parts here. It says that no EU member state could possibly support a fibre-only hemp sector, least of all Ireland. They say the economic viability of the entire European hemp sector is dependent on farmers being able to utilise and benefit financially from all parts of the hemp crop. And then the final point here that they have is, in line with the IPCC climate transition pathways carrying the highest co-benefits, including for human health, hemp is arguably the single most important agricultural food crop on the planet. And I definitely wouldn't disagree with them there. Like, I definitely see the cannabis plant as being an incredibly beneficial one, with so much to offer the humans on this planet. In our desperate time of need, we certainly are in a desperate time of need, but this is just some of the applications there of agricultural use of hemp flowers and leaves in Europe in 2019. 58% going to food and supplements, 1% for medical applications, 6% going for tea, 20% essential oils, and 15% there for other applications. So yeah, that was the open letter that's up there and signed there. Chris Allen, Executive Director of Hemp Federation Ireland. You can find that letter over on by searching Secretary General DAFM letter. Yeah, that's the one up there. Hemp Federation Ireland. Yeah. Get in touch. Pop me a message if you can't find it, and I'll get you to it. Right, we drive on from there, guys, because they tried to cheer ourselves up. It's fucking incredibly depressing there, seeing that news that we've just gone through. But we need some positive news. We head on over to our buddies in the States for that. And over in the States, we were talking about the federal decriminalization of cannabis, or the federal legalization of cannabis. And it's progressing. It's going positively, progressing forward. So happy days. Well done to all involved over there making this possible. But this is over in the US, where the MORE Act, Part 2, I suppose, is back before the House. And they voted on it. They voted in favour of it, finding 26 to 15 in favour of the MORE Act. So happy days there. It's going to progress on now, and hopefully it will keep on progressing, because as what's his name here, Gerald Nadler, the representative Democrat from New York State. He said that this is long overdue and a historic legislation which would reverse the failed federal policies criminalising cannabis. It would also take steps to address the heavy toll this policy has taken across the country, particularly among communities of colour. Nadler said in the opening remarks at the voting on this bill. He also says that I've long believed that the criminalisation of cannabis has been a mistake. The racially disparate enforcement of cannabis laws has only made it worse, with serious consequences, particularly for communities of colour. And that certainly is incredibly evident over in the States anyway, for sure. And this development comes 1 week after the full House voted in favour of the Defence Spending Bill, which includes an amendment that would protect banks that service state legal cannabis businesses from being penalised by federal regulators. And the Senate Majority Leader, Chuck Schumer, he has said that he is in agreement with the Senator Cory Booker not to let the cannabis bill move ahead of the justice-focused cannabis legalization bill. But he also said that he was willing to consider letting the cannabis banking advance through the National Defence Authorization Act if and only if justice-focused provisions like expungements for past convictions can be added. So that's important that add in there. So like if you don't understand what's going on there, they've got a bill going forward that passed last week. So it's ahead of this bill now that got voted on. And that bill that went ahead last week would allow banks in the states where cannabis is legal to work with the cannabis industry there and not be punished because of the federal legality of it. But now what they're saying is kind of like, no, look, we're not going to let that bill pass because actually this one is more important because it includes, expungements, it includes, repatriation, I suppose, if that's the correct term, or reparations actually, for the communities who've been most largely affected by this criminalisation of cannabis. So that's important, I think, there that they're focusing on that and making sure, that one doesn't get in ahead of the other. Because it would be bad, in fairness, if the banks are getting protected before the people are getting protected. That the people who've been unfairly and wrongly punished and criminalised for cannabis use and selling and whatever don't have a pathway to have their name cleared. But meanwhile, they're after making a pathway there for banks to work, to make money and to engage with the industry before they help the other people. That would be messed up. So fair play to them on that one. I like that. I like seeing that. And I like to see that willingness there to kind of get the expungements in on the other bill as well. So at least there's twice as much chance there for expungements to actually be included in a federal bill looking at cannabis use in the US. So happy days. And I've a little video there from that talk the other day. I'm going to get it up on screen there now for you. And this is a speech given by Representative Stephen Cohen. He's a Democratic representative from the state of Tennessee, I believe. Tennessee? I think so, anyway. But I'm going to pop him up on screen there now for you. 1 second. Boom. And this was first featured over on the Marijuana Moment. That's a news service over in the US that covers all things cannabis and other kind of drugs and stuff like that as well. They do a lot of psychedelic news as well. So it's a good one. Make it full screen. Enjoy, guys.
The bottom line is the war on drugs was a failure, and marijuana is less harmful to our society than alcohol by far and nicotine. And it should not be a Schedule I drug, never should have been a Schedule I drug. And it was only put there years ago because of antiquated thinking, if you call it thinking, to try to get people angered and direct their anger at Latinos, and African Americans, and later at white hippies. That's what Nixon did. That's what Harry Anslinger did in the 30s. That's what Nixon did in the 70s, was to get people to get upset with his enemies who opposed the war in Vietnam, and Anslinger needed a job.
Yep.
And they found a way to criminalize marijuana in such a way that people looked at it as just something that musicians did, African-American musicians, jazz musicians, Hispanics did, and then later white hippies did. They tried to disenfranchise them, take away their rights by convicting them, putting them in jail, and they were fodder for a criminal justice system gone astray. The fact that this bill gives money to African Americans to get into the business of marijuana is right, because otherwise it's going to be simply Caucasian business, and that's what it is. African Americans are disproportionately affected by the arrests, as were white, quote-unquote hippies, and they were bludgeoned. Schedule 1 is heroin, ecstasy, methamphetamines. Marijuana is not in that class. I was shocked to hear Mr. Jordan's comments. This is someplace we should have bipartisanship, and we had it with Dana Rohrabacher, and we had it with some Republicans. We had it with Matt Gaetz. Matt's been a leader on this. There have been a lot of Republicans who over the years have joined with us to make this more of a bipartisan approach. I remember a time I was on an airplane flying back from Nashville, and I was a state senator, and a guy said to me, he said, you know, Senator Cohen, I don't support a lot of what you do, but I like your positions on marijuana and pets. Of course, I had a bubble go over in my head of him getting high and playing with his kitten or his dog. But that's something we could be bipartisan on. Pets and pot. And we should be. Because it's just, Americans have a right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And people who are smoking marijuana, part of what they're doing is the pursuit of happiness. And for the government to put them in jail and take away their rights, and as we know, they can't get food stamps, can't get college scholarships because of marijuana convictions, that's absurd. Just totally absurd. So this bill is an effort in the right direction. It's a justice bill. And just about every time people have voted on this, they voted for it, to decriminalize marijuana, to legalize marijuana, to make it used for medical marijuana. You got states like Louisiana that hadn't let the people vote, but if they would let the people vote, it would be 2/3 for it. It's 2/3 to 3/4 everywhere. So to my Republican colleagues, come into the 21st century on something. And this is a place where citizens, I think Colorado has shown it, they voted for marijuana. It's legal there, it's a business. And it really hadn't affected the Denver Broncos' performance. It hadn't affected the crowd's performance. Mr. Buck, would you like me to yield?
And I'll end it there. It's a 5-hour long video. I watched some of the discussion there. Got to hear some of the arguments against the bill as well, and it was laughable. Again, it was almost like watching clips from Reefer Madness. Like, you know, if you were to close your eyes, you would think you were watching it. You know, you were hearing some references about it or something like that. Complete nonsense that were spouting when they were talking against the bill. Again, some of the arguments there, you know, if you were to legalise cannabis, that it's going to be everywhere, there's going to be an incredible uptick in the use of cannabis, and kids are going to be smoking pot everywhere. One fellow was just like, if we legalise cannabis, like, imagine how difficult it's going to be to teach the kids. It's like, making all these crazy claims and stuff like that, but to be fair, it was good to hear somebody like himself speaking there as to the human rights aspects of it, the pursuit of life, liberty, and happiness. Like that is the kind of the American motto, really, isn't it? Like the American dream, whatever. But like, yeah, we all have that right. Like, we have that right here as well. In Ireland, we have the right to fucking happiness as well. Like, we don't have to be terrorized by our government. Like, they don't have the right to do that to us because we use cannabis. You know, we fucking hurt nobody in doing so. So I applaud that dude. You know, well done. And happy to see the federal legalization of cannabis moving along over there nice and swiftly. So that's it, guys. That is all of today's 420 news. I'm gonna rush through one or two little bits. Apologies for the late start. My bad again, guys. As I said, just needed time to sort a few things out outside of my control, but we got it done. And we even got a little bit of good news in there too. I thought I might have had one more headline after that, but it turns out it didn't. So yes, I got over to the comments, over to the hot box, see what's happening up there. I see Daily Talker saying I would love some ecstasy to help with anxiety and PTSD. Yes, it's pretty good actually. In fairness, when you get in the right setting. I don't know about anxiety and PTSD, but fucking ecstasy, it's pretty good in the right setting. Skitanis says he was quoting Dr. Carl Hart, but failed by calling the others Schedule 1 drugs bad. Yeah, I don't think he called them bad, but I think he was just trying to make a statement as to like compare cannabis to these other drugs, which maybe would be Schedule 1, but probably aren't either. Like, but yeah, I can definitely agree with what you're saying there. He was trying to make cannabis seem better than the other drugs, which, you know, by Carl Hart's logic way of thinking, that's not the right way to proceed. It's like, you know, all drugs are on a level playing field. You know, it's all about how you use them. It's about the education behind the use. That's it. John Finnegan, reefer madness is still rife. Maybe if we voted younger people into office instead of the old codgers with their prehistoric views, we might see some change. Yeah, I seen that there's a bill actually over in the US going forward, I believe, and that's been put forward actually by a 19-year-old. Yeah, that was something I came across there earlier as well. Probably should have included this in today's 420 news lineup, but I just didn't get around to reading the whole article myself. But this was the headline. This was, again, as I say, over on the Marijuana Moment. It's a 19-year-old New Hampshire lawmaker, and he prepares bills. Prepares bills to decriminalise psilocybin and all drugs. This is a nice lengthy enough article over on the Marijuana Moment. It's an interview with the lawmaker himself. He's the 19-year-old state representative who spoke with the Marijuana Moment. Just looking for his name here now. I think it's actually got his Twitter down below. There he goes. Tony LaBranche. I think that's how it's pronounced. So this is his Facebook page, I'd imagine. So 19 years of age, a state representative for Amherst, New Hampshire. So fair play to him. 19 years of age, and he's putting forward bills to decriminalise and legalise, I suppose, all drugs, not just cannabis or anything like that. All drugs, psychedelics, or psilocybin, and all drugs. Go on, kid. So I'm going to give him a follow. He seems like an interesting character. I'll have to learn a bit more about him. But yeah, like, you know, look at the progress being made in other places in the world, and we're so far behind here in Ireland, trying to scare people away from using cannabis as a medicine. Casa de Strugas, yeah, the one flaw with cannabis legalization legislation, the discussion often stigmatizes other drugs. You need to be educated before talking about the whole topic. Yeah, very much so. I've definitely made mistakes in the past myself, and I'm sure you definitely can reflect on it as well, Casa. The times, you know, when we were doing LCI and stuff like that, we probably would have been very snooty about other drugs, you know, looking down our nose in other drugs, you know, trying to say, hey, we're not these other drugs, we're cannabis, we're friendly, we're okay, we're not these guys. But no, that's definitely not the way to do it. We've learned, fucking, we'd want anyway, how long are we at it now? 15 years, jeez, it's scary, man. Hopefully another 5 years, and we should have it all done, psychedelics, all drugs, you know, but hopefully this time next year we'll have cannabis under our bonnet. John Finnegan, that 19-year-old would make a great interview, Martin. Hint, hint. Nice one, John. Good request there. Nice one. Duly noted. I'll certainly send the guy a message anyway and see what we can do. Seems like an interesting character. All right, I'll have to do a bit more homework on him anyway, see what his background is like. Because obviously he's got a story to tell there. Like 19 years of age, and you're an elected representative proposing bills. You know, that's fucking cool. Fair play to him. Like, what was I doing when I was 19? Like, you know, think about it. What were any of you doing when you were 19? Like, were you an elected fucking lawmaker? What a legend. Daily Talker, recently I was explaining RC aeroplane controls to an acquaintance, and he said it must have made it so hard to control to keep stoners from doing it. I'm stunned. Where do people even find all this hate within them? Yeah, I definitely know a few people, alright, who are into their RC control or drones as well, even, and they like their cannabis too, and they're fucking legend. They're well able to fly those things, like, you know. Cannabis Drugga strapping in about the knowledge. In 2012, the same year they legalized cannabis, they criminalized homelessness and reversed harm reduction services that had been accomplished up to that point. What? Specific to Denver, where I was at the time. Yeah, that was right. They made homelessness criminal in certain areas, and they pushed the homeless people, that they gave them like tickets to go to like other towns or stuff like that, wasn't it? There was some funny stuff, alright, going on over there. Oh no, Joe, what's happening? JW Hillpower, what's going on, dude? Says Story Martin, hope you're good, bro. I was up in court Wednesday for cannabis, 7 grams. I didn't attend, but the matter still proceeded in my absence, and I was convicted and fined 500 quid. No chance I'll pay it. Yes, fight the power. Yes. Yeah, non-compliance, guys. Don't pay these petty fines. I believe it was your son's birthday, I think you were telling me, around the time that this case was coming up, JW. So happy birthday to your young fella. Hopefully you had a nice birthday party, and you enjoyed the day anyway. And yeah, man, if you've any trouble come up as a result of the non-payment of the fine, keep me in the loop. Do you know, I'd be more than happy to have you on here in the podcast to talk about it as well. I've heard nothing back yet. Actually I did. I got a reminder to pay it the other day. So again, another cost to the state. They sent me out a letter to say, hey, you never paid your fine and your deadline's gone by. Here's a reminder, you can still pay it. Talk about being desperate, like. But no, I still haven't had any follow up yet from the courts. But I should get another court date now, I believe. Once I don't pay it. JW, wondering whether I should just appeal, because I was planning on pleading not guilty in the first place. That's a possibility too. If you wanted to, you could always put in an appeal. But you only have 7 days to do so. So if it was Wednesday, the clock is ticking. Get it in there if you're doing it. John Finnegan, good man, Joe. Williams, fight the Evers all the way. Yes. And Paul Effick saying, remember the prohibition days of alcohol? They poisoned the drunk and killed loads of people. Yep, they did indeed. They're doing that currently over in the Philippines. There's literally fucking killing drug users and stuff like that on the streets. It's crazy what went on over in the Philippines under the President Duterte. I think that was his name. What were they calling them? Extrajudicial killings. Crazy stuff, like. But yeah, the good old days, prohibition, happy days. Hopefully there'll be a thing of the past soon. Daily Talker saying people need to realise that the normalisation of cannabis will actually benefit everyone. It will. And it'll benefit the planet. Like, thinking about the abilities of our farmers to be able to grow this bloody plant, it's going to be great. Just flicking back through to some of the earlier comments there. Yeah, Cannabis Drugga was saying there earlier in the other article, and the farmers saying that farmers are losing out on a lot more with THC, and here we are importing medical cannabis. Yeah, I would agree with you there, Casa de Strugas. Definitely, there's an incredible ability to make a lot of money there for our farmers in Ireland if we were to allow them to be able to the full potential of the plant, including like all of the varieties, that's THC included. Like imagine if a farmer was able to set up a couple of grow houses here, greenhouses, and grow cannabis, you know, using the sunlight, maybe some supplementary LED lightings there, just to help on the more shadier days. But imagine the potential. It's fucking incredible, like really, when you think about it. But no, it's like, no, that's a narcotic. This is a deadly narcotic. Like I was looking at an article, do I still have it open? No, I don't have it open. There was a seizure out in the Indian Ocean. They seized like fucking a couple of million. It was like €2 million worth of hash or cannabis or something like that. But within the article anyway, they were just kind of hammering on about like how, you know, this was like, it was a great day, very successful, because this hash, now this cannabis, was going to be used, the profits from it, to buy weapons and all of this for these terrorist organizations. But meanwhile, in none of the article mentioned the fact that, like, hey, we should change the laws and make this, like, you know, so that when people buy cannabis, they can buy it from reputable retailers, so that we're not supporting terrorist fucking organizations when we buy cannabis. Oh, but no, they'd rather us be buying from the John Gilligans, from the UVAs, and the all of those other fucking paramilitary organizations out there. They'd rather us buy from them. You know, without a choice in the matter either. Like, it's not as if you can go up to their cannabis supplier and say, hey, what's the source of this cannabis? Can you? No, you can't. Yeah, the Philippines was like the Squid Games, killing all of those people, absolutely crazy. Yeah, it was indeed. That's a good representation of it, all right, the Squid Games. Just about to finish it off there, like 2 or 3 episodes left. Could cannabis calm dangerous people down? Used in law enforcement. If cannabis was legal and we introduced it into prisons for violent prisoners, yeah, I definitely think that could help. If I can keep them asleep for most of the day anyway, at least. Right, guys, I'm going to have to start bouncing on out of here. We have, we'll pack up one more bowl. We'll read out a couple of more comments. But I've got daddy duties there to get done there again for the rest of the evening. So I'll have to run and love you and leave you. Skatana saying, of course they want us to, but from those we now know, the Garda are actively involved with these gangs. Yeah, there you go. Definitely. I'm not surprised at all that this has happened. The case with the Garda, the retired Garda getting caught in, of supplying the information. Think about it. Just think about it. A cop's wage is about like 50 grand max or something like that for the year. Like 50 grand. Think about it. Like, you know, think about how much money is being made in the sale and supply of cocaine, heroin, cannabis. It's like, just do the math. Like, it's like a cop is cheap. You're going to have a few of them. Like, you're not just going to have one. Like, you get one cop, but then you say to that cop, hey, get a few of your buddies there that you can trust. Like, and of course that cop is buddies you can trust. They all went to Templemore together. Like, you know, call in favours. Come here, Johnny. Do you know, Mary? Remember that night in Templemore there? And we were all, you know, doing a bit of coke. Well, look, this fella there is going to give us all 20 grand each every month if we fucking, you know, do this X, Y, and Z for them. Just think, like, you know what I mean? It's so simple. It's so... do you know, some of the stuff in the dramas, the TV shows, like, it's not that far-fetched, really. Like, obviously, a lot of it is, but not all of it. Papa Gummy Bear, a large sum of the UK state funds come from selling weapons too. Yep, they do. And don't forget that the fucking US is supplying Saudi Arabia and all of those dudes too. Like, that's some crazy shit going on there. But look, we won't get into that conversation at all. Global politics. Unless it's cannabis related or drugs related. Yes, go on, JW, off tobacco, 2 days as well, lads. I'll try not to ever go back to the poison. Good luck with that, JW. Keep at it, man. It's not going to be easy. The next few days will be challenging, but you'll certainly get up over it. It's a bit of an uphill battle right now, but give it like 3 days and you'll reach that peak and you'll start coming down, and it'll just get easier and easier then every day. Before you know it, then it'll be like, geez, I can't believe I was actually even ever smoking those things. It won't even be a bother to you. Look at old Podge. Podge is doing fucking savage out there off him. Podge is probably, what do you know, Podge? A couple of months, a year or so. Podge is off him a good while now. I hope you're still off him, Podge. I hope you're not telling us tales. Like, I have no reason to not trust you. But well done. How long are you off of Podge? I see you're still out there. Hopefully you are anyway. 8 months. There you go. Podge is off him. 8 months. So Podge, this is to you, and it's also for you as well, JW. A little bowl, a little sacrifice to the higher powers, that you continue to strive for good health. Oh yes, good stuff, Mustawes. So Mustawes is 7 months off as well, off the tobacco. Legends, good stuff, guys. Keep that up. John Finian, yeah. I don't think anyone is surprised that the Garda are involved with the gangs, the most corrupt security force in Europe. The Garda are registered as a security firm, not a police force. There you go now. And Human Fu, I actually know somebody personally who became a cop 25 years ago just to make money by stealing drug money. Well, you think about it, you do a raid, like, you kick in some dude's store and you find 20 grand in there, like, it's like fucking 5 grand's gonna go missing, and who's gonna believe the criminal who says 5 grand's gone missing? Hey, there was 20 grand there. Yeah, sure there was, boy. Yeah. Right, I'm going to bounce, guys, because, I've got duties that need to be done and are time sensitive. So I'll be back with more 420 news next week, guys. Until then, though, have a lovely weekend. Stay safe out there, guys. Hopefully the popo doesn't interfere with any of my crowd. And if they do, guys, let me know, and I'll fucking give them an old finger wagging and tell them off. And we'll do a big protest in support of you too. Cassidus Drogas saying, I'm 10 years off the backy now, thank God. Summer Liberty caps combined with blunts is a good way to recondition. That's true, actually. That's very true. JW Hillpower, consider that one. An old dose of psilocybin and some good herb. And you might actually find yourself fucking kicking that backy a lot easier than you might think. But yeah, Cassidus Drogas leading the way there. Go on, man. Good stuff. Lady Talker saying, just remember, I have tobacco grown in the greenhouse that I should probably try to harvest. Yeah, well, that's what I would advise the people to do if you were to consume tobacco. Grow your own and grow a good variety of it as well. Stuff they sell you is just commercial, like. It's not quality. Homegrown is always quality. Pods 4420 as ever, Martin. Great show and enjoy the weekend. And everyone else, peace out. Nice one, Pods. And Mark as well. Paul and Mustawes, Teresa, Chumafu, Mustawes, Daily Talker, everybody else out there, guys. Nice one. Much love to you all. Have a lovely weekend. Stay blaze, guys. Keep her lit. And I'll see you back here next week. Peace.